When their experiments turned up empty, the mission was deemed a failure. But in another of the historic pendulum swings between science fact and fantasy, a few pictures from the Viking orbiters sent the life on Mars debate in a new, bizarre direction.
We were taking very detailed pictures of the surface early in the Viking mission to try and select the landing sites. And we were amused by one of these pictures. We could see something that looked kind of like a face.
What NASA saw as an amusing fluke, others saw as evidence of a Martian civilization capable of engineering the largest sculpture in the universe.
The face on Mars became an iconic figure. Many people claim, by God, that is a face, and therefore, if there's a face a mile across, it proves A, that an intelligent civilization exists, and B, their faces look a lot like our faces.
The official explanation was that the face was produced by a trick of light and shadow. To test that theory, independent image enhancement engineer Dr. Mark Carlotto built a computer model showing the face under different lighting conditions.
What these results showed was that the facial features, instead of disappearing, actually persisted over a very wide range of conditions. And this suggested to me that it was not an optical illusion.
Additional pictures from the area around the face, a region known as Cydonia, were offered as further proof that the face was a Martian engineering model. The collection of pyramidal shapes became known as the Cydonian Complex.
This suggested the possibility that there was a bigger picture here, not just an isolated formation that happened to look like a humanoid face, but a set of objects nearby that may have been a place where the people who built the face could have lived.
NASA's skeptical reaction to the face on Mars was seen by Mars believers as a full-blown government conspiracy. It would be 20 years before another Mars expedition photographed the Cydonian complex and the infamous face. Would these new photographs be the smoking gun that solved the mystery of the face once and for all? In 1975, photos of what appeared to be a face on Mars stirred up fantastic notions of civilizations living on the red planet. The 1996 announcement of a meteorite containing Martian organic compounds renewed public interest in Mars. Mars Global Surveyor took off just 4 months after the meteorite press conference and began sending back new, higher-resolution images. 8 months later, on July 4th, 1997, Mars Pathfinder was the first space probe to land on the red planet in more than 2 decades. Sojourner, a 6-wheeled miniature rover, captivated a television audience larger than the one that watched the moon landing in 1969. Then, in 1998, Global Surveyor returned to Cydonia and re-photographed the infamous Mars face.
When you look at the higher resolution photos, I think that no unbiased observer can see a face. Instead, you see that there are some interesting rock formations that from the right angle might suggest a face.
But the new pictures didn't convince everyone that the Mars face was merely a coincidental rock formation.
Global Surveyor saw the face illuminated from below, kind of like holding a flashlight under your chin on Halloween, so the image was very distorted geometrically. It looked nothing like the Viking image.
Ultimately, the face on Mars is in the eye and mind of the beholder.
People are welcome to look them up on the internet and see what these new images look like, and they sure look like a coincidence. It's kind of sad because, you know, in both my scientific work and my fictional work, I love aliens. But you gotta have some skepticism too.
The possibility of life on Mars continues to tantalize.
I think we need to know a lot more about the cosmos that we inhabit. There are a lot of ways to do that, but Mars is actually within reach.
Is life there at all? We don't know. It's that question that we're after.
The government has a history of distorting its involvement in UFO investigations. Information about sightings has been suppressed, altered, even fabricated. Just what is the government trying to keep secret? UFO believers say their distrust in the government has its roots in a bizarre incident that occurred during World War II. In 1942, shortly after the Japanese sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, radar stations in California picked up signals from unidentified aircraft approaching Los Angeles from the sea.
The Los Angeles air alarm, as it's become known, of February 1942, is very impressive because a number of unidentified aircraft were seen, including one quite large one.
The city was blacked out. Searchlights scanned the skies. Anti-aircraft batteries were manned for action.
The Americans considered that they were being invaded by the Japanese because only a night or so before a Japanese submarine had attacked the Los Angeles coastline.
Eyewitnesses reported that the mysterious air armada was immune to the exploding shells. The aircraft hovered over the city for about an hour. Then they slipped away as silently as they came.
At least 1 million people witnessed these events. 1,430 rounds of ammunition were fired at the objects. Nothing was brought down.
In the wake of the action, there were 3 deaths from heart attacks and damage to private property, all from friendly fire. The incident made the front page of the Los Angeles Times.
It's popularly believed that the government and the military suppressed this. Now, in fact, no such thing happened. I mean, the story ran in the papers the following day.
An inquiry launched by the Navy attributed the action to wartime jitters, claiming the Army fired at an empty sky. The Army, as confirmed in recently declassified documents, disagreed, insisting that something extraordinary happened that night in LA, something that may never be explained.
Certainly from a UFO standpoint, there was no need for them to cover it up because it was unprecedented. But clearly it was embarrassing to have to admit the existence of unexplained vehicles of unknown origin invading United States airspace over a major city.
As the Cold War began to heat up, sightings took on a more sinister aspect. Fear of a nuclear holocaust translated into fear of the unknown. UFO reports by ordinary Americans increased dramatically. The U.S. government felt a sense of urgency to prevent the sightings from spreading into mass hysteria.
And you really have to understand that the CIA was very, very concerned about the Soviet Union and their capabilities. Unless you understand that relationship, you cannot understand the UFO phenomena.
In September 1964, at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, Lieutenant Robert Jacobs, a photographic officer, filmed a routine missile test flight. A few days later, Jacobs screened the footage for his superiors.
Clearly visible was a disc-shaped craft which flew around the Atlas missile, which was flying at thousands of miles an hour by this time.
Jacobs later described the astonishing scene. We saw a UFO swim into the picture, distinct and clear. It circled our missile, emitting vivid flashes of light, then vanished. Seconds later, our missile malfunctioned and tumbled out of control in the Pacific Ocean, hundreds of miles short of its target. Jacobs was sworn to secrecy. The film was turned over to 2 men he was certain were CIA agents. Jacobs remained silent until 1982, when he came forward to accuse the Air Force and CIA of a cover-up.
He decided